But is it a question of ego? Maybe your ego is hurt if someone is coming with skills that maybe, or at least promised skills that are higher or better or stronger than what you potentially have.
You're too arrogant. You're too decadent. Yeah? You want to achieve something? Step down.
They are raised there with the belief that only stupid people are smiling.
If somebody comes and tells you, hey, look, I have made this degree. My professor told me I'm so super smart. I have this and this and this and this and this. Believe me, this would not be the person which I want to work with.
How do you generate trust there? Because here the pain is the money.
An investor asked me, what is 1 million? I said, it's my house.
This is Where We Levtov, the podcast for founders, operators, and leaders building in a technology-driven world. Each episode examines the decisions that define companies, from architecture and governance to structure and scale. We address the tension between ambition and execution and the trade-offs most teams prefer not to discuss. Clear thinking, real consequences, no theater.
Hello, everyone. Here's Marianna Levtov and Elmar Ekhart, and our podcast, we are picking up where we left off. We are starting a new chapter in our podcast. From this time onwards, we will be having video recording, and you can see us also on YouTube. I also take an opportunity to thank Martin Grad, who was our co-host till now, and Fresh Meta. Thank you for the production and all your support. Without you, this podcast would never happen. Starting with new chapter, new host in this studio, I'm also introducing a topic of today that's a little bit new for us as well. Previously, we have been discussing issues from the industry directly, and today we will speak a little bit about psychology, corporate psychology, and we will speak about trust. From this episode onwards, Elmar and I will pick up different topics, also invite guests from the business industry, from finance, strategists, psychologists, and everyone who could be interesting for you, and of course for us to talk to them. How are you today, Elmar?
Very fine.
I think guests are interested to know who you are and why you are here.
Just make it short, yeah. I'm 55 years old. I have experienced in being in a leadership position since around 30 years. I'm coming from the technical part. And I'm one of those guys who learned management in the 90s and the 2000s. And bringing now these skills to the new skills that we developed in the last 10 years. And that works really, really nice. I'm doing a lot of turnaround management, making management for mechanical engineering more the technical part, so to say. And I'm very thankful that we found each other, and could start with this podcast series. I've never done podcasts before, but I think it's a new challenge. And even with 55, you just have to face new challenges and start with something new.
Thank you for your trust in me. And today we will discuss the topic of trust. Trust in leadership, trust in business. It's a very big issue. Each time we are taking a new company or a new adventure, we need to hire new employees. We need to enter into a new team. We need to gain trust. Others need to represent themselves in the way and perform that they generate trust. How do we do it? I always thought it's a cultural issue and it's a little bit emotional story. And sometimes I feel that if you talk about trust within the teams, it connotates to something negative, maybe links directly to certain criticism. You don't speak about trust issues in a positive way. This is my perception, at least. What is your take?
I see trust as a extremely positive thing. I mean, I'm a very optimistic person, and I always jump in with a big portion of trust to everyone with whom I start working. It's this pre-benefit that you should give someone. I mean, you cannot trust everyone. That is impossible, but you just can give everyone the chance to trust him. I think that we just have too less trust in ourselves most of the time, to spend some trust to someone else.
That's a very good point. Shortly before recording started, we were talking about expectations and expectation management in regards to trust. Is trust to yourself is also managing your own expectations to your performance?
I mean, if you think about yourself, then would you be there where you are now if you would not trust in yourself?
That's a good question, and I can pause and think about it. No, I think even if I failed and needed to start again, something inside me told me that I can do it. And this is the trust.
We are sitting here together. Do you think that this is the result of trust?
Absolutely.
You see.
Can it be a naive trust? Can it be just an emotional hook based on some prejudice or my wish to believe?
I think that is a very healthy thing if you believe. Because if somebody enters the room, you have this click moment. You create sympathy or not. And if you create sympathy, it always is parallel to trust. The sympathy click, the trust click. You like this person, then you hear the voice of the person. You like the sound, the color of the voice. And with every second or millisecond, you create more and more trust.
Doesn't matter who is on the other side.
It's a lot, depending on which person is on the other side. I think this is an emotional and a social issue. Yeah, you see a person, the way the person is clothed. Yeah, is the person smiling? Which emotions come to you from this person? Is the person nervous? Yeah, or very confident? I think that has a lot to do if you create trust immediately or it takes a lot of time to create trust.
I want to step aside and reflect on something that you said about smiles, for example. I have a very mixed background, and part of my background is East Europe, so to say. And the way people are educated there and they are raised there with the belief that only stupid people are smiling. So in order to show that you are serious and to show that you are concerned, you need to show it on the face. Also, unnecessary smiles don't show any kind of level of intelligence and can be always questioned. And probably I'm smiling way too less than I could based on this imprinted behavior. What can create a wrong impression in the Western world that is expected to have a smile on the face whenever you are entering a room with people. And doesn't mean that I have from the beginning minus points on the trust.
But what you told me now is, your side. The reaction from the other side can be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side could really like how you are entering the room, how you appear. I have trust in people who I didn't like from the first sight. I had to learn it or discover them completely different because they just were wearing a mask. They came in and they were not themselves. They were not that authentic. Absolutely not. But after a while, after talking, after getting to know each other, they were developing completely different. And that is something, this is something which you should give the person as a chance. Let the people develop and give you yourself the chance to develop trust.
So what I'm hearing, so first of all, probably the best recipe is to be yourself.
Yes, and authentic.
And being authentic. If I'm trying to translate it to the business terms, when you're hiring a person, you would prefer a person to be as much as he can based on his nervosity and situation himself, themselves, and present as much as they can how they would be in the calm situation. And then what? What happens is next? Because this is the first impression. This click might be misleading.
But what is the very first impression that you get? The very first impression is you get a CV that is sent.
Right.
So then you normally, and that is just with every CV, you have a photo and you have all the positions and all the education of the person. So you just have a picture already. So, and then the person enters the room. And then you start in a minimum of time, you just compare the picture that you have out of the CV with the person that is entering the room. And you have only two possibilities. Does it match or not?
I understand.
And then you start to build up a relationship. Although it can fail, so that you take the decision that you don't hire the person. But you start to build a relationship. And out of this relationship, then you build trust.
I know a few stories when a C-level was entering and could play a very good game, creating trust among the employees and the board and the rest of senior leadership, maybe because they could read very well the room and understand what is expected from them. For example, a company in crisis would expect a lot of humbleness and proactive work from the CEO, who would really engage himself in the work together with the team, promising to do these things, lift the company up together. And this creates this first trust, at least, maybe the right words and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, with the course of events, a few of these leaders lost the trust of the company or crashed the company because behind these promises or first attempts to show off, no real value was standing. I can imagine that you're constantly challenging yourself with the question, how I gain trust of the new company that I am onboarded, of the board, of the new team that I need to lead right now. What is your strategy? What's your winning strategy that the trust is generated not only in the beginning, but also along the whole journey?
We lost to create trust. There are some reasons, not many. One is we have this habit of overpromising. we have extremely skilled people. I just tell you, when I was having my degree, everybody told me, these old wise men or old wise women, sorry, yeah, woman first and men afterwards. They told me, you are nothing. It's just the beginning of learning. So you just created yourself a vehicle. So you had a boss, and this boss was forming you. The boss helped you to become the person that you wanted to be. Nowadays, it's completely different. Combined with a good education is always you are the elite. No, you cannot be elite with 18, 19, 20, 25, whatever. Yeah. We never had in our society elite in the beginning. Most of these people became elite when they were 40, between the 40s and the 50s, maybe 30, when they were really quick than this. But they knew exactly it is a hard way to go there where I want to be. Nowadays, people think I have this degree, so I am the person who has to be in this position. And imagine how many people we have. Yeah, not everybody can be a leader. You have to qualify yourself as a leader. And I like people who come and say, these are my skills. This I have to learn. I need to learn something to achieve all this. I want you as my vehicle. I know I will not have you until the end of the time, but there is a time frame where everybody needs a vehicle. And just is authentic. And then me as a vehicle can create trust. And then I can help this person to achieve the goals that they have. Otherwise, I don't like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody comes and tells you, hey, look, I have made this degree. My professor told me I'm so super smart. I have this and this and this and this and this. Believe me, this would not be the person which I want to work with. Because he's promising, he's painting me a picture, which is definitely nice, but it's too nice.
But is it a question of ego? Maybe your ego is hurt if someone is coming with skills that maybe, or at least promise skills that are higher or better or stronger than what you potentially have.
There are persons where you have this issue, for sure.
What do you do as a leader if you see that in front of you someone who is not as senior as you are position-wise, but...
I like people who are better than me because they make my life easier. I mean, the thing is, look, this sentence, yeah, if I'm the best in the team, I'm not a good leader. Huh? I want to have a team of the best, and everybody needs to be better in several cases or with different skills. I don't think that personally in my life it is not an issue. I like people who are better than me, yeah? Because with those guys I can win. The question is if they are strategically better than me. But even if they are strategically better, then I'd like to have them in my team because we can achieve a lot of goals. But I think I think most of the people do not know how good they are on the one hand. And on the other hand, we have people who absolutely think they are genius and aren't. And there are a lot of people who are in between. With you can work, yeah. But I like these frame people that are near to the right or to the left, yeah, where you just can say, look, you're too arrogant, you're too decadent, yeah. You want to achieve something, step down. And believe me, those people, they start to trust in you when they achieve the first results in a way that they were not expecting to achieve them. So that you showed them the way, not they showed you the way, you showed them the way, and then they start to trust.
Elmar, I see how it works within the team or within the subordination relationship. When you go to an investor, how do you generate trust there? Because here the pain is the money. Money of the fund, personal money if it's about the family fund, family office, all the options that are on the table, you still need to generate trust in a relatively short time in order to cause them to do a due diligence and start thinking in your direction. How do you do this?
If I say it is easy, no, it is not easy. It can be easy. But I think it's also this thing with being authentic. You go there and you need to be convinced that what you are selling there, yeah, is 100% what you want to do. We were talking before about the elevator pitch. Have this discrepancy between we want to have everything regulated and we need to have structure and we need to have due diligence and all these things. And on the other hand, we promote elevator pitch. How much time do you have in an elevator pitch for creating trust that this guy invites you or gives you the money?
So I believe it's about the pattern recognition, especially in front of investors. Investors listen to these pitches all the time, and they can feel the patterns, and the patterns can dictate them if they trust or not. They also expect certain statements in the pitch that can signal them, yes, here we will invest potentially, and we know the outcome only if due diligence will show us something incredibly untrustworthy. We will not go, but basically we found our candidate. And I think with the experience, this is what you gain also in relationship with people when you are choosing someone who represents a company you want to invest. You recognize patterns with the time and say, with people that behaved similarly previously, I had issues, so I probably will not trust. It creates a bias, and we could maybe disqualify a person who looks like the person that betrayed us before, right? But he has a different story, a different narrative, and his motivation behind the actions is driven by completely different reasons. But it seems to me that expectations and pattern recognition are those that are driving our trust feeling, together with the first emotional hook where you probably feel similarities. Would it be cultural similarities, values, something that causes you to create this first attraction? Maybe someone looks like someone else's teacher or first love or something very positive from the past. And this creates the first click. This is what I'm taking out of this discussion as a short conclusion. But what am I missing? Am I missing something?
Not really. I think coming back to the investor, I think one major sentence that is necessary to convince an investor to invite you or make the next meeting or even give you the money is if he gets the feeling that you walk the talk. And investors have a sensor for walk the talk. That's why I would add walk the talk to everything that you said. That is something. That is something. And then I think you also have to consider that an investor needs to feel your relationship to money, to figures, because then he can trust.
It's an interesting catch.
An investor asked me, what is 1 million? What would you answer? And I was lucky to have the right answer. I said, it's my house. And he said, this is what I want to hear. In connection that you can link 1 million to something which is important in your life.
Yes.
That creates trust.
What would he say if you would answer it's an MVP in our project? Or too vague?
No. That would also fit.
That's also fit.
Yeah. There are a million of answers. Yeah. I think what he would not like is that he says, oh, then I'm done. Yeah, then I can just make a holiday or vacation for the next 3 months. Yeah. And then he will say, what do you do with this 1 million in 3 months? Yeah. And then he said, drinking champagne as long as I cannot drink anymore. Yeah. No, this is just not what he wants to hear. It just needs to be connected to reality, to the real life.
You know, walk the talk relates also to trust in yourself. I think to a certain degree, if we are talking about pitching about ourselves when we're entering a new place, we're starting a new relationship, we need to believe in the picture we represent. We need to identify ourselves with the better us that we want to present. It should be natural. All of us hide some certain imperfections. It's absolutely fine, but we need to trust in ourselves that we can do things that we are promising either on paper and then later on in a conversation, and also walk the talk, because we are our own business in this sense, our own project.
We always try to bypass this, but that was generations ago. We just tried to bypass our emotions and our feelings concerning trust. Yeah. Remember your parents? Yeah. You go somewhere important. What do they tell you? You have to dress
Behave.
You behave like this and this and this. So we force people to make a picture that the other one's impresses.
Yes.
But this is not you. This is not you. I mean, when I was starting to work, I always had a suit and a tie, and everybody was telling, yeah, you look nice in suit and tie, and you have a nice haircut and so on. And I just created an impression. I'm sitting here in jeans and pullover and a polo shirt. I have longer hair than ever. And who cares? Who cares? I'm Elmar. I'm 55. I'm authentic. I can tell you what I did in my life. I can tell you what is going on in my life. I can tell you what I'm doing. I can go to sleep in the evening and says I always told the truth. I'm not giving someone a picture which is not me. And that is something that counts in a world like this. Where we have on the one side, we have capitalism, where it counts which suit you are wearing, which watch you are having, which if you have an iPhone or not, yeah, if you have a big house, if you have a fancy car, whatever it is, or boat, you can all the really important, successful people, 80% of them, you do not see that they are successful. But if you talk to them, you immediately get the feeling that they are authentic. There are so many important people that are not appearing somewhere. They're just living for something. They create trust.
I totally agree with you. And before we conclude, I want to dive with you into the last point that you mentioned before. We both mentioned the expectations. Can you give an example? How should it look like when you have a trust in an employee or a colleague, and they managed your expectations correctly, and the trust grew, or they gained even more trust?
Not everyone met my expectations. It's enough to meet 70, 80% of the expectation. I'm happy if it is 90%. Nobody can meet all the expectations, but it's the try and it's the motivation to do that. I mean, we are so in results. We are always trying to achieve results, and we're so unhappy if we don't achieve results. I'll just give you an example. There was a Hahnenkamm downhill race this weekend. And the best skier in the world, Marco Odermatt, has won the Super G, but not downhill. And he just became second. And he was not happy. And I asked myself, why is this guy not happy? I mean, to be second is also a fabulous result. Yeah? I don't know.
It's an interesting approach.
But I tell you why. It's the wrong mindset.
Yes.
It's the wrong mindset. If you say, I have achieved nearly the result, and the next time I have the result, and I'm patient enough to be satisfied with what has happened, then you have a complete different approach. I always reached more when I was down to earth.
Mhm.
And when I discovered that I became arrogant, or I was too confident, I always failed. Always. And it was just to end the circle. And those people I trusted in were those guys who reminded me on that. So they brought me down to earth.
You know, from my perspective, what is critical in order to maintain trust is communication. So many things can be misunderstood and they can shake the trust. And definitely, especially in the world of business and employment and so on, if you are not mindful, you might not feel the pressure of expectation from your management and so on. But usually, the things are obvious. And in order to keep the trust, I believe it's better to communicate that some deadlines you might miss, some incidents happened on the way, and suggest plan how to improve it, than not to say at all and wait till the thing will happen and manage later the outcomes, if at all. And I think it's a skill that slowly gets lost and forgotten. Communication, direct communication, fearless communication about things that also didn't succeed and failed, because it helps to activate preventive measures. If I know to say to my superior, for example, or to my colleague, look, I'm failing in this right now. I see that I'm not succeeding. I need your hand. I think especially in business, it's critical because there's so many people losing trust because they are not alarming in time that something is going wrong.
I think you're completely right. How do we communicate? How often do we have a bad communication? We never had.
We never had.
No, we never had. But we are even not working on that. It just happens. I mean, you need something from me, I need something from you. Yeah. We communicate properly. That creates trust. And we are educated to communicate verbally with the eyes, with the ears. And I like social media. I like doing videos. I like all this. But it will not keep us away from the basic senses that we have. They will not disappear.
No.
These basic senses needs to be fed. Yeah.
And therefore, after COVID was over, it was so important to start traveling again and visit all your clients and visit all your network partners, your friends, your relatives, and reassure that your trust agreements, your commitments are still standing. As much as the technology allows us to meet in person via Zoom and other tools, the warmth, the eye talk, the physical contact, touch, handshake cannot be replaced. I think that if someone believes that the business can be led only online without a human interaction, he's missing out a little bit. Indeed, there are some projects when you never meet a client in person, and still then this is your responsibility to create trust via video tools, to have the feeling, to create the feeling that you are here present in the room and the client can rely on you and you will provide all the support that's needed. Definitely there are different ways of creating this support feeling, right? And this is the customer success in each business and with every product that should be discussed separately. But this human behind the screen who is with you, who is communicating with you, if I'm speaking on behalf of a client, communicates with you the challenges of the project, for example, even when they're happening, even if it causes you a reputational loss on the short term, you cause dissatisfaction with this service. On the long term, you gain trust. And this is all parts and components of big trust issue. And the same between the colleagues and between the senior leaders themselves and with their employees, and definitely between the C-suite and the board. This communication should happen. And I think this is essential, together with all these prerequisites that we spoke about, this emotional hook, this cultural background, the authenticity of your appearance, and so on and so forth. What you do with the granted trust, how you maintain the trust, how you cultivate it further, nourishes this relationship. This is what should get more and more emphasis in the business culture. And therefore, I think that networking as an action, meetings, personal meetings, this is something that every business needs to invest into. Every person needs to think about his own networking system, who supports him in the first circle, the friends and the family, of course, and how to nourish this relationship, not to forget them, and then the work circle, and supporting, of course, circles as well of the investors and clients and so on and so forth. It's a hard work to be an empathic and trustworthy human being. And I think that we can talk about it and more and more and more. We started the issue, and the topic should be discussed further. And I believe out of here we will take new interesting subjects, and definitely soon we will be picking up where we left off. Thank you for your time, Elmar.
Thank you. And let me just close with one thing where we started. Be authentic, trust in yourself, and then the others will trust in you.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianna.
This is Where We Leave It, until we pick up where we left off. If this episode challenged your thinking, share it with someone building something that matters. Follow the show and subscribe to stay ahead of what is coming next. Where We Left Off is produced by Precepts, executive advisory for organizations where growth has created friction, misalignment, or stalled decision-making. All rights reserved.